welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 through 23 are very scary passages. Who are these people? And if it's easy to be saved, why do these passages claim Jesus will claim to many, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? And in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 through 14, the way is narrow. How can it be narrow if it is easy to be saved? Well, these two passages obviously are contained in the third chapter of what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. Now, allow me to go to the end of the Sermon on the Mount, and I'm going to come back to these two scriptures. Jesus ends the Sermon on the Mount by creating an illustration or an analogy about people who build their house on two different environments. One is on a rock and one is on shifting sand. It says the storms come and obviously the house on shifting sand goes away. The house on the rock is safe and secure. What Jesus Christ is doing in the Sermon on the Mount is he's building a case that our lives, our eternity, our souls must be based upon him, the rock. I.e. Matthew 16, he refers to himself as such. 1 Corinthians 10 calls him the rock, referencing back to the Old Testament, and a lot of other passages in Scripture. You say, why is this important? Because I think erroneously, oftentimes, we look at the Sermon on the Mount as some type of treatise or thesis on what is the Christian life really supposed to look like. Well, here's the problem with that. There's not one single born-again Christian at the Sermon on the Mount. That's right. The entire audience would have been people from a Judaistic or Judaism background who were basing their relationship with God, their eternity on rites, rituals, some type of sacrificial system. And when you begin to read the Sermon on the Mount, one of the things that you discover is that Jesus has this pattern of, "It is written, but I say to you. You've heard it say, but I say to you." Jesus isn't rewriting the Bible. He's not redefining it. What he's really trying to communicate is, oftentimes, not just in those days, but in our days, we take the Bible, we twist it, we turn it, we subtract, we add to make it say what we want it to say so that we feel good about our behavior and our decision-making processes. What was Jesus doing in the Sermon on the Mount? It is my opinion that if you read through the Sermon on the Mount, you will discover that Jesus Christ addresses every single way that you and I fall short of the glory of God, i.e. Romans chapter 3, verse 23. Why is that critical? Because in these passages that were referenced in the question, you have individuals who are standing before the Lord justifying themselves on, "Look at what I did. Look at what I said. You should be proud of my behavior." And he says, "I never knew you." Now you take that phrase, "I never knew you," all throughout the New Testament. It's talking about that relationship with Jesus Christ through his life, his death, his burial, and eventually his resurrection. So I understand these are scary passages. I think the problem is oftentimes we have born-again believers who are seated in the heavenlies read these passages and begin to fret something, "Oh, have I not done enough, or is there something I did wrong?" When in the context of the passage, these were people that were justifying their eternity in heaven based on their own deeds and not what Jesus had done on their behalf. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.